Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Pictures on the Scorecard. My name is Seth McWhorter. I'm a graphic designer and branding professional in the golf industry. As always, I'm joined by Robbie Woodard, co-founder of Best Ball Media. Tonight, we have a special guest. We're actually recording this on the eve of the U.S. Open in Pinehurst, North Carolina, and we're joined by a Carolina's golf aficionado, photographer, talented, creative, Billy Richards. Welcome to Pictures on the Scorecard, and we're glad you're here. We'd love to have you just sort of, casually introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about, your experience in the golf industry and what you do.
Yeah. First of all, Robbie and Seth, thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here, and obviously on the eve of one of the most exciting periods, or I guess weekends of golf that I've probably had in my life, because golf has not really been a huge part of my life for incredibly long, which may sound weird, but I'll explain that story a little bit later. So Billy Richards, like you said, I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been here in the Carolinas for about 8 years now, something like that. Probably moved down here in 2015, so yeah, going on 9 years, something like that. And originally from upstate New York, Albany, New York area. Born and raised up there, and went to college up there on the border of Canada. So, but moved down south in 2015 because I was just done with being in the cold, and the weather up there was just tough. I mean, I think what really motivated me was it was a 90-day period where it didn't give above freezing. Maybe not 90 days, maybe it was 45, but it was just brutal. And I went down to Charlotte to visit a friend, and it was 65 degrees. We were outside, playing beer pong at one of the bars, and I'm like, I need this. So I ended up moving down the next year, and been down here ever since. Met my wife a couple years later, moved up to Raleigh, and yeah, that's where I am these days. So.
But how did you come up with Carolina Pines Golf? How did you get involved in photography, drone work, things like that? Is that part of something you've always done, or what got you interested in that?
Yeah, so I mean, golf was, I guess, a little bit backing up. Golf was never really a huge part of my life when I was growing up. I had some really close friends around me that were really into the game, a couple family members and cousins that were really into it, and still are. But my father never played, and just I was doing other stuff. We were on the lake in the summertime, and golf was expensive. And in upstate New York, to be honest with you, unless you look pretty hard, there's not a lot of great golf courses. So with that said, it just wasn't a priority. But then I moved to Raleigh, and I was living in a townhouse, and I just needed a way to get outside. And I had a couple buddies, and we started playing golf at some of the local courses in Raleigh here, and got the bug at some of the muni type places, and then ended up going to a place that we all know pretty well now, called Tobacco Road, and just kind of was totally blown away at what I saw and what I found there. Just hadn't seen anything like it, right? I was really getting into the game of golf and playing it then, but just the architecture side I never really thought about too much. But that just totally rocked my world, for lack of a better term. And I just had to have more of it, just as far as getting on the internet, Instagram, just trying to find more about golf architecture. And I knew kind of about Pinehurst and about the area that I moved to, and it was kind of a mecca or cradle of golf here, and really just kind of started peeling back that onion. And then I found the fried egg and no laying up, and really just got into these deeper holes about these golf architecture and just courses in general, and different architects and styles, and courses in my area. One really influential thing was No Laying Up series that they did on the Carolinas, and just kind of exposing all those courses. Pretty much all of them were public, so that was an immediate I need to go play all these places and check those off. So all this was happening where I was an iPhone photographer. I don't have a photography background, a creative background. My daytime job is sales and marketing in the biotech business, so it's pretty separate from all this. But when I found the fried egg and these guys, I just, Andy Johnson specifically, and from the fried egg, were just doing really cool stuff with with photography and highlighting golf courses in a way that was, I thought, pretty unique, and other people were doing it, but he was just, it was a big inspiration. And I was like, I want to get into this, and I just kind of went out there and started dabbling in it myself. I mean, I purchased my first drone and started to familiarize what I needed to do to do that, as far as getting licensed and all that. And so it was an evolution and an addiction for sure, because now I think I'm on my 4th or 5th drone since I started this whole thing. So not because I'm crashing them, just because we're upgrading. But
we're upgrading.
Yeah, so it kind of started just really as a place to park. The Carolina Pines thing started as like kind of a place to park golf photography that wasn't my personal account, and just crush my friends and family with golf pictures all the time, which is kind of what my account started to be, my personal account, for a little while there. And so I made this Carolina Pines thing, and Carolina Pines came from kind of just the fact that the being from New York, we don't have pine trees like they have down here. They're different looking. They're super cool, unique. I mean, coming out of these skinny things, coming out of the sand with like the leaves starting like 80% up the tree. They're just very striking, I think. And then when you get out into a place like Pinehurst or Mid Pines or something like that, and you just see these corridors. It's just, I heard somebody say at one time, I don't know if it was Riggs or something on Foreplay, but something about those Carolina Pines, and it kind of stuck, and I just called the account Carolina Pines Golf, and it's just snowballed from there, and partly become an addiction, as far as just getting out there and creating, and it's been a pretty cool outlet for me to express a side that I didn't really know was there a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I mean, I think it's funny. There's a couple things you talked about that were intriguing to me. One is I remember starting up. I was already in the graphic design space and the creative space, and I was doing a lot of work that I really didn't care to share with friends and family day to day. But then I started doing stuff on the side that was sort of self-initiated, and I needed a place, like you said, to sort of park it without just. Who texted their friend? Who texts their friends and be like, "Here, look what I did today," like, or look where I went today. And Instagram and social media. That's the perfect place for that, because I think people are actually genuinely interested in what we're doing. But I think that's really awesome that you found that outlet, because I think that a lot of people out there that have talents to do this type of thing don't do that, because they're not really willing to take that leap of faith like you've done and start sharing that stuff. But I want to talk about Tobacco Road, because I've been familiar with it for several years now, and from an architectural standpoint is obviously one of one. But I had the opportunity to play it for the first time about 2 weeks ago, and I don't know if I was really prepared. And I've been spoiled playing some of these incredibly architecturally interesting courses over the past few years, but when you get to the place like that and you really see true creativity from a golf course design standpoint, I can't imagine that being really your first experience with something unique, truly unique like that. Did you have someone that was like, "Hey, we got to go play here"? Did you stumble upon it sort of organically? What was that experience like?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. So I got to a place called Half Moon Bay in California before that, which was probably like the first course that I had been on where I was like, wow, this is really cool. I mean, this is seaside golf. I mean, it's tough to be disappointed with what you're seeing there. And I think like that. At that time, when I was getting kind of hooked into the game, I was starting willing to say, okay, I'll pay $120, I'll pay $150, maybe $200 for a nice round of golf. And knowing that I lived in that area and starting to watch all that stuff, I kind of knew that these courses were right there. But I had heard that Tobacco Road specifically was like this crazy place. And I guess I should also tie in that this was all happening like in late 2019, and then really when we first went to Tobacco Road the first time, it was April 5th, 2020. and there was something going on in the world at that time, like a massive global shutdown. And basically, we showed up to the tee time that one day, and there were 6 people on the tee sheet all day. So we ended up having the entire place to ourselves after 11 a.m. And like a whole combination, I think, of unlocking a place like that for me, and then having that type of experience. We played, I think, almost 45 holes that day. I mean, we just did not stop, and it was very unique. I'll never see it like that again, because obviously, usually now they're pretty full, to say the least. But that was a really cool experience, and so I had seen some stuff but nothing like that, and then that really sprung me into action for sure. But yeah, it was a big jump into things. There was no dipping the toe in the water with Tobacco Road being.
That's jumping the deep end.
Yeah.
So have you played any other Mike Strantz designed courses, or gone out and taken drone shots of them?
Yeah, I have. Let me think about it. So Caledonia and True Blue.
Yep.
Been down there. Tot Hill Farm. And I think that is it. I haven't made it up to the Virginia properties yet, shamefully, because I've lived in Raleigh long enough and then close enough to where I should be getting up there. And it's going to come here soon. And Bulls Bay is another one that I'd love to get to. But yeah, there's a couple more I need to check off.
So besides Strantz and the design of Tobacco Road that you were talking about, like you mentioned, the architecture piece was what really kind of captured your attention, made you want to do this. Who else? Seth Rayner, obviously Donald Ross in the Pinehurst area. Who else do you admire from a golf course architect standpoint?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think what got me into that, and then also what continues to send me down holes, like even to like where we are today. Like I'm constantly kind of finding out about new architects or going to play an architect's course for the first time, and then it'll strike me as like, whoa, they do some really cool stuff, and then I'll go want to see like 4 or 5 more of what they did if it's around, if it's still available. I guess we'll put in the category of living architects and not living. I think when we talk about some of the older guys that are no longer with us, I haven't had the chance to play enough Rayner stuff, but obviously his stuff is by far some of the most striking stuff I've ever seen. Tillinghast stuff is tremendous. I really like what he has done. Up by where I am from in upstate New York, Devereaux Emmett was a big influence up there, along with Donald Ross. But Emmett did quite a few courses in the Capital Region, specifically where I'm from, and he had some really cool stuff, which I really liked. I love the influence Pete Dye had. I think he kind of was that bridge between some of those older guys and then the guys that we see now. Really, kind of, I don't want to say even some of the guys that are aging out, but that are getting to that older, late 50s, early 60s, into their 70s, like guys like Tom Doak and those type of guys. So. But I think as far as living, people that are still doing it, I mean, I love, I really like what Blake Conant and Brian Schneider just did in Aiken, South Carolina. I got to give them a shout out specifically because that was one of the most interesting golf courses I've ever seen, hands down. And it's got inspiration from so many different architects, I think, when you walk around that place. I mean, you see Rayner, you see Tillinghast, you see Walter Travis, you see Ross, and C.B. McDonald. You see so much out there, and it's not, exactly what they did. It's just interpretations, and it's just a really, really cool piece of property. And I think it also bodes well for the future, I think, for what Tom has been churning out, these architects. I mean, Angela Mosier and the work that she just did at number 10, I mean, that's spectacular. So I think I think the future of golf course architecture is in pretty good hands. Kyle Franz, obviously, in this area has just done a tremendous job at Southern Pines and Pine Needles, and even down at Cabot.
Yeah, and well, you and I were talking before we started recording about broom sedge, right? I'm in Columbia, so right, got broom sedge here, Old Barnwell Tree Farm, Pinehurst is not far, so yeah, Kyle Franz is doing some great work as well.
I'm curious to see or to hear, thinking about your page specifically and sort of the path that you took from finding this new hobby in golf, deciding to document it the way that you do, and then using social media to sort of share that. Talk to us about this sort of the path you took on Instagram and how you've sort of grown the page. Has it happened organically? Is there one piece of content that really kind of popped off and people gravitated towards? Just sort of a little bit about that, because I think it's interesting to see how some accounts get really popular, and yours is one where I look at it and I'm like, yeah, these are beautiful photos and awesome stories that you're sort of telling through your work. So I'd love to hear you talk about the account and how it went from friends and family to 20,000 people.
Yeah, which is wild to hear that stuff, because it's crazy. Yeah, 100% organically, and kind of just initially the goal was to kind of highlight courses just in the Triangle area, maybe the greater Raleigh down towards Pinehurst area, and kind of did so as I went out with 100% paying to play everywhere, trying to just capture stuff as I was out there, whether it be before or afterwards, and then just posting it, doing a little story behind it, whether it be telling the history of the course, the architect, not really doing reviews, because I think there's enough of that stuff out there, just informing people, and kind of always tried to keep it the course, not necessarily with people in my shots. I mean, I've dabbled with people here and there, but not a ton. More as just secondary B-roll type models and things, and not being a primary focus. But starting with a mix of photo and video. I always really loved the reels side of things, and the Andy stuff in the fried egg definitely hooked me in wanting to take music, almost like golf music videos, like telling the story, picking the right song, and I felt something when I watched those, right? And I wanted to create that myself. So that's kind of what I would try to do, and I would go out and try to capture a multitude of photo and video that I could then go back and slice and dice and then post to the account. I think I haven't had a strategy at all with really growing this, which is interesting. I except the one thing I've always tried to do is quality over quantity. I'll go without posting for a couple weeks all the time, just because if it's something that I'm going to post, I really kind of want to take the time to either whether it's do it right and then post the photos or videos and then kind of move on to the next thing. And I kind of post stuff in stages, where I'll go to a course like a Tobacco Road I work with. They're probably not a great example because I'm always posting their stuff, but like a Cabot, for example, go down there, shoot it, do a reel, do a photo deck of it, maybe do a bunch of stories, and then have it occupy my page for 4 days straight or a week straight, and then kind of move on and go to the next thing. And it's been interesting to see what has popped and what hasn't. There's been one specifically, and we've been talking about it the whole time, and it's Tobacco Road. People love Tobacco Road. My page was definitely significantly influenced by that, and a couple photos that definitely popped that got me a lot of different followers at a couple different points, for sure. But yeah, I'd say Tobacco Road has probably been the most influential course that I visit as far as helping the page grow organically, but together, right?
So like just on social media, I have kind of ups and downs with how much energy I want to put into it. Given that that's how you're sharing your content and all that. I mean, do you find do you put a lot of effort into how you go about doing that, and we talked about reels. I'd love to hear you talk about your methods for that.
Yeah, there's definitely ebbs and flows with the energy that I have with social media. I mean, I'll always love getting out there with the drone and with the camera and capturing. Like that's something that really never goes away. Like I get giddy every single time I get the opportunity to do that. Sometimes I'll go on, a week and I'll shoot 3 courses, and then I have all this footage, and I'm like, oh my God, now I have to come back and edit all this, and then I have to get it into the computer and get it, curated the way I want it and up to my standards, which have, every year with a bigger audience and bigger expectations for myself, increased expectations for what I want my product to look like, which the editing process is that much longer. So, the editing part and then therefore I guess the posting and all that definitely becomes tedious sometimes, and it's not my, my most favorite part to start, but once I'm into it, especially editing a video or something, I really do love it. Sometimes the song finds the course, and other times you have to, the course finds the song.
It seems to be, I don't want to say a crowded space, the whole video and, music of the golf space, which for somebody that's a consumer of it, I think we all really enjoy what you guys do. Who are some of the other folks, you and I were talking about Matt Gibson, for example, who are some of the other folks that you look up to, the fried egg guys, and that you think are doing a really good job that people should pay attention to?
Yeah, I think you just definitely mentioned a couple of them. I mean, I think the initial original inspirations were like Andy Johnson, Fried Egg, the No Laying Up guys. Jeff Marsh has been a huge inspiration, and kind of he's become a friend of mine, and just he does incredible work. I mean, and a guy, talk about a guy who can do it all, literally from the photography to the videography to the drone to the camera to shooting golf courses without a single soul on them and showing how beautiful they are to shooting U.S. Opens and U.S. Women's Opens and making the best players in the world look that much better. So I think those types of people definitely kind of all mesh together, and then just like the community through Instagram has just been one of the things that I wasn't expecting to just. I mean, half of my friends now have come through Instagram. My wife makes fun of me all the time. She's like, "You got another online friend that you're going to play golf with today?" I'm like,
Been there,
yeah,
man.
She makes fun of me, but it's like it's awesome. And some of these guys have really become close friends of mine. A guy that I think is super talented that's here in Raleigh, and he's doing some stuff this week that you can find on Peter Millar's account, is Matt Jr. He I think goes by Matty Junes on Instagram, and he's got an incredible aesthetic to his photos, and I think he's just been crushing it at Pinehurst all week this week. Matt Hahn does an incredible job. So those are some guys that I think obviously Matt Gibson I think has done an amazing job with both his personal stuff, and then what he's done with the Pinehurst account has been genius. Being around those types of guys, Chasing Foul Photography, another one here in Raleigh, in Pinehurst area, is super inspiring for sure.
Yeah, it's a great community, and I think, like you mentioned, you become friends with all these people. Everybody's it's such a great community. My wife just says the same thing, like, and more golf friends that that you find through this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, exactly right. Like people that love golf, that love talking about it, and just enjoy the beauty and creativity of what this game offers. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, they're jealous. They're jealous.
That's right.
I'm like, I've been trying to get her into it, but it's gonna have to come on her own.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you. You obviously have sort of a somewhat formal, semi-formal relationship with a lot of these courses that you shoot. How did that stuff come about? Do you get asked to come out to courses and document, or is it a lot of it just sort of, hey, I want to come out and capture awesome content and share it with your followers? I'd love to hear about that side of your work.
Yeah. So I think it started with more of the latter there, with me, trying to go out to places and just as trying to, do my own thing and expose them and try to capture what I could. And At first it wasn't even necessarily working with the course. When I was first doing my initial stuff, it was like all for my personal, enjoyment of just doing it and having the photos. But then as things started, to go up in quality and some of the courses would say, oh, this is really cool. And, we'd love to post this or that. And then, I would start positioning myself to come out to certain places and do some photography work and go and play. And, kind of was really always what the goal was to kind of just keep it at that. It's definitely gotten to a point over the last, I'd say, year where there's been a lot more folks reaching out to me to come out to some places for sure, which is awesome. I'm not looking to become, a golf course photographer in a sense where I'm traveling all over the country and going to shoot every job that's available. While that's easy to fall into for somebody who loves doing that stuff, that's not why I started doing this. And also I think to do that the right way, you'd have to put so much more into it. And there's people out there who do that tremendously. And that's not really what I'm looking to carve out. But yeah, so that's, I don't know if that answers the question well or not, but
No, it does. It does. I mean, it's just really neat that we have this sort of community that accommodates both of those things, and I think it's kudos to you because the quality of your work is so good that people are reaching out to come to have you out there and to share it. But yeah, that's super interesting. I think that there's definitely a threshold where you go from hey, this is fun to hey, this is my job. And maybe that removes some of the magic for you, but I think we all benefit from just seeing you enjoy the places you get to go to.
Yeah, I think, and that's something that lately, as I get more opportunity, I have to ask myself more about is this why am I doing this, right? And not maybe the answer is because you want to, or maybe it's because it's a good opportunity financially, or it makes sense. Or something like that. But, again, I think where my best stuff comes out is, especially in the video and the storytelling and the creative, I think is when, it's natural and it just flows. And, whether it's, the good content, I'm always trying to grab that with the drone. I never want to go out and grab anything that's not worth it. And I don't like to go out and shoot during the middle of the daytime because it's, boring light or whatever. And, so I get up at those early hours or stay on the course till, it's dark and driving home from Pinehurst at 10 p.m. because I'm out there to the very last bit of sunlight, and stuff like that. So I think, that's been something that I've always tried to push myself to do because I think it just separates yourself again and to have, the better stuff. And once you see how good you can capture at those hours too, I feel like it just ruins everything else for you. So it's like, if I can't be at a course at those times, I'm just like, is it even worth it? Is it even worth it to put the drone up or something like that, So,
so how do you take this, I don't want to say to the next level, but like, what do you see as next? How do you continue to develop, continue to, if I don't think there's perfect out there, but how do you continue to perfect what you're doing, your craft?
That's a great question. If you got any tips, I got a suggestion box. It's called the DMs.
It's all a big metaphor for the game of golf is all a big metaphor for what we do.
Yeah.
No perfect.
Exactly. I think I have some aspirations on what I'd like to do with expanding, the media forms that I have. YouTube is something that I'd like to get into more, and developing that. I always say this, like talking about me posting short or long videos when Instagram likes short. I've got hard drives full of footage from great courses and so much more. I post 1% of what I shoot, right? Because that's all that it allows, 30 seconds, 1 minute. And so doing some more storytelling through YouTube, and going out and kind of creating, like, Friday did a video this week on Pinehurst #2, and it had, I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch it, but it was with I think Jeff Ogilvy and Bill Core And it was just tremendous. Like, it was so good. And like that stuff like makes the hair on my arms stand up when I watch something like that. And so getting in to be able to do something like that, or like bark up that tree slowly. I mean, that was incredible, and that's produced by a lot of talented people. But something like that, I'd like to get into in the future, and have talked with some people about some ideas that we have. Kind of doing more storytelling about what we have here in the Carolinas, because there's lots of stories to tell, and there's lots of places to go find them.
Well, we are recording on the eve of the U.S. Open. This will come out the Monday after, unless there's some crazy playoff. We might as well make a prediction that is going to be proven wrong by the time this is aired. So you've seen the course recently. You know who's playing. Yeah, you've seen the practice videos and all this other stuff. Do you have anybody? Would you pick anybody besides Scotty? Do you have a guess or a prediction for this week?
Yeah, we can't pick Scotty, right? Everyone's picking Scotty. The course is, I wasn't around in 2014. I saw the videos. It looked like it was just baked out to high heaven, and must have been going through a drought, back then. And
they were.
It's incredible right now. I mean, the condition of that place is just when I was out there with Matt about 10 days ago or whatever it was just, I've never seen a sandhill style course be so immaculate. And knowing what it was like back in 2014, or like seeing the videos and watching it, that on YouTube, I was so impressed with where it was. And I think it also helped that we had some rain, and we weren't going through a drought at leading up to this thing. But I think it's going to play super hard, even though it looks still looks green. I think I heard the greens are rolling at like a 14 or a 15 earlier in the week. I don't know if it's going to be like that, come tomorrow. I think that I like Ludwig. He's kind of my pick that I went for in my group this week. I also, I like Morikawa as well. I think iron play is going to become a premium. Holding those greens and some of these pin placements and how fast they're going to be. There's going to be some carnage out there. So yeah, I think whoever can do well. Also, the heat is going to be a factor, right? Like, I think, I know these guys play golf in hot conditions in some places they go in the summer, and, East Lake in Atlanta and whenever it's end of August, early September. But man, it's going to be hot in those pines on Friday and into the weekend. And, some of these guys, I know they got caddies and everything, but it's going to be interesting to see how that takes a toll on some of these guys and who thrives in the heat. That may be a factor this weekend.
Yeah. But
I like Ludwig. It will be my non-Scotty pick, and then also Morikawa, I think, could be in the mix. But I think what's great about golf right now, even with all the live drama, is I feel like there's still a lot of exciting guys that just keep coming up. And being new to golf for the last couple of years, I feel like it wasn't as attractive 10 years ago as it is now. There's just a lot of interesting storylines. So I think it should be an awesome U.S. Open. I hope the USGA comes out for blood in the morning. Rein it back in if they need to, but we don't need anybody going to shoot a 63 tomorrow.
No, I don't think. None of us golf nerds want to see that. No. Yeah, your casual fan might, but that's they're irrelevant. You stole my pick. I think there's a lot of people that are going to pick Morikawa this week, and I think that's the guy for me. If I have to go down, I'm actually looking at the notes on my phone because I kind of do this every major just to kind of see if I'm right. And we get to put this out and show how wrong I am. But I'm gonna go Matt Fitzpatrick. Solid iron player. So I listened to the No Laying Up guys today. They did their preview pod, and they talked. No, actually, it wasn't No Laying Up. It was a different. I don't even know who it was. They were talking about the practice round that Fitzpatrick is playing with Eduardo Molinari and a couple other guys, and how Fitzpatrick
all the stats.
Yeah, he's going to download all these stats. He's going to be like a robot tomorrow. Tomorrow being first day, but that's my guy. That's my pick. Fitzpatrick would be the non-Scotty pick, but honestly, I don't know if Scotty's beatable right now.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I would go non-Scotty pick. I'll go Max Homa. I think he's got the temperament to handle missing a green and getting up and down. And he's got a really smooth swing. Everybody does out there, but yeah, I think it'll be fun to watch. Excited to see what happens.
It will.
Yeah,
I heard someone say today that these guys it's going to be really hard for everybody, right? And they're going to have to give themselves some grace between some of these. People are going to make mistakes, and it's going to be about who can mentally stay sharp, and when they do have a ball hit, that's pretty much perfect spot, but it's 6 inches away from that 6 foot wide landing area on 15, and it runs off into the bunker there, and then all of a sudden they're fighting for bogey, and it's 97 degrees and it's hot as hell.
Yeah.
So it's going to make for great drama, and I'm excited to see the course. Also, just excited to watch it on television. I'm excited to go, but I'm excited to have it on the big screen for the whole weekend and see Pinehurst just in all her glory on high definition and 4K.
Love it. Yeah. So to sort of round out the show, we do a little segment that we call Routine Par. Where Robbie and I, and we'd love to have you join in if you have something that comes to mind. But really, we just sort of introduce something that we've seen this week or recently that caught our eye in the golf space, creatively, what have you. Anything that we want to share. Robbie, I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, it's something actually that Billy and I were talking about before. But Matt Gibson, I interviewed him for the Whole Story podcast a couple weeks ago, but a video that he posted through the Pinehurst Resort account, I think it was Tuesday, but it was from Monday. He got an old camcorder and shot video using a camcorder and posted that to the Pinehurst Resort account. If you didn't see it, go back and find it. It was awesome. Like Billy was saying, it reminded, like even the audio piece of it, I think he said reminded you of your childhood, like the graininess of the video, like the shakiness, like it was so well done from a creative standpoint in today's age of showing what it used to be like, and again showing a place like Pinehurst through that lens. I thought was really cool. So really cool. Good job, Matt.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw that. It was incredible, and it makes me think of like I remember like in the early 2000s, I got a camcorder for Christmas, and I remember I was like, I'm gonna make dunk videos, and I know you can't see me right now, but I'm like under 5'6". But I just remember that's what it made me think of, which is super random. So I'll stick on
surface someday.
Yeah, I'm sure it exists somewhere in my parents' attic or something. But I'll stick on the U.S. Open theme. I know this will come out afterwards, but I think it's still relevant. Cavy Design, Cavy Design, is a fellow graphic designer in the golf space. He does really fun, it's kind of edgy, and it's just really cool work. And it's very unique to him. And he released or he showed his work from a capsule design. I have no idea if he worked with the USGA, if it was ever going to be something they put in or on merchandise at the US Open, but I wish they would, and I hope that he gets a chance to do it again, because it's just an example of someone in the creative space from a design standpoint who's just doing something super unique and super cool. He shared a lot of the graphics that he generated for it, and again, I don't know what the circumstances was, but it's just neat stuff, and I applauded it. So Cavy Design on Instagram, go check it out and see what he did for the US Open.
Yeah, no, definitely got to take a look at that for sure. Cavy Design, absolutely. I think what I've been seeing this week, I think sticking with Matt, in addition to the camcorder thing, the Pinehurst account has done a great job, I think, with some of the storytelling that they're doing. I saw a video yesterday to kick off the day with Roy Williams narrating it, right? I mean, come on. And then just before I think we got on here, there was one with Governor Cooper, and it was a collaborative post with him, and just pulling at the heartstrings of North Carolina and what it's the rest of the state is meant. This means to the rest of the state, and not just about golf, but it's bigger than that. And I think it's really cool to pull in those those public figures, to show that they have roots here, and also that it's just a really cool storytelling element. So I really like what the resort account and the marketing team has been doing, with that. And I'm sure our buddy has a significant influence in what they're doing. And then, I think I talked about him a little bit earlier, but a guy named Matt Jr. He's doing some freelance photography, working with Peter Millar right now at the resort, and he's been there the past couple of days. And just a really unique lens. I mean, there's a lot of high-end sports quick shutter photography out there, which is really good stuff that you see capturing, the normal, at the tournament type stuff, right? Which we all want to see. But Matt's kind of walking around there doing a little bit different stuff, kind of capturing the vibe. And I think he's just doing a really tremendous job. And I think the aesthetic he puts on his photos just match what he's shooting so well. So it's been a treat to have his content come out, and he's been sharing a bunch of it on his own page too. So definitely go check that out for the rest of the week. So
Cool. Well, I got one more. Talking photography, you mentioned some incredible folks that are doing it. A lot of people do this as a side hustle, that aren't doing it full time. There's those that are doing it full time that are great. I do want to give one shout out to a guy named John Patota, who is known on Instagram as Pinehurst Photographer. John is retired from, forgive me, maybe the Boston area. I'm sorry, John. Retired, came down to Pinehurst because what else? You love golf, and it's a beautiful place to take pictures. So he combined his two loves, and he's doing some really cool work. So check out Pinehurst Photographer on Instagram. John's doing some really cool, kind of behind the scenes stuff. He said, he loves the documentary types, style of like he wants to be out there early with the guys cutting grass and rolling the greens, and so he does a great job.
I just started following him over the last month or so. He's really cool stuff, and then I got into a hole on his page one night for 35 minutes, going way back to North-South tournament 2.5 years ago or something like that. Yeah. But no, he's got some really good stuff, and I like that he's got doing some really cool stuff for the U.S. Open this week, but also he's got some really local cool stuff that I got into a hole on, if you will. So
yeah,
love it. That's awesome. Well, listen, Billy, we really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us. Carolina Pines Golf on Instagram. Check his work out and see for yourself the talent that you have for capturing this game that I think we all are obsessed with. But I say this every time we sort of round out the show with I can't believe this thing exists, that we are getting together to talk about creativity in golf. But this is one of those shows where I think if someone listens, they're going to get a lot of great name drops, and it's just going to expand the community. They're going to hear 3 or 4 names they probably hadn't heard before, and it'll get them interested in something. But Billy, thank you again. And to all those who are listening, I hope that you'll join us for the next round of Pictures on the Scorecard.